a first listen to Cortez the Killer by Neil Young. So I've been recommended Neil Young's music a couple times now by my friend. I finally gotten to actually react to it on this channel now, but I really don't know much about Neil Young going into this, except for the fact that he had that recent controversy with Joe Rogan where he had a disagreement about, vaccinations, and so he decided to pull all his music out of Spotify. Other than that, I'm kind of going into this with sort of fresh ears, but as a history buff, this is of course called Cortez the Killer. Now, I'm wondering how he ties the Spanish Inquisitions into this track. Super curious and excited to hear how this story plays out, if this is in fact a part of this song. So let's get into the reaction. Okay, here we go with the reaction. Wow. Turn it up. Wow. Okay, I have a lot to say there. Now, firstly, well, I'll take it back because we missed a little bit of that first sort of paragraph he's getting into. But to sort of speak on the idea of taking 3 minutes and 20 seconds to get into the actual lyrics of a song, to take that time to build whatever is the concept of the story of this song, that takes quite a lot of balls, man, to have it all be instrumental. But it's totally understandable. Why? Because that was some of the most beautiful, pretty guitars I've heard put on a song before. Now, to me, it sounded like that was incredible. It sounded like two different guitar players playing at the same time. Now, I wonder if it's all Neil Young. Perhaps it's him playing both parts to it. But whatever it was absolutely fantastic. The imagery sort of built in my head was that of sort of this serene, beautiful place, but he took it to different places. It's like he delivered the guitars in a way where you almost feel, although it's kind of lovely and wonderful, something bad is turning. You know, that's what I got. It was like a almost a song in itself, man, just told through the guitar. It's pretty damn awesome, man. So let's take this back and keep going.
Dancing across the water with the scallions and guns, looking for the new world and the palace in the sun. On the shore lay Montezuma with his coca leaves and pearls. In his halls he often wandered, the secrets of the world.
Wow, what a great
And his
line.
subjects gathered round him like the leaves around the tree, in their clothes of many colors for the angry gods to see.
Okay, awesome 3 paragraphs, man. I love what he's doing here. It's very, very poetically done, man. Neil Young, for what he's done on the guitars already, is really impressed me as his musicianship. These are some of the best sort of poetic verses I've heard in a while, man. This is very, very impressive. So here we go with the idea of Cortez and the Inquisitions, right? He came across the water with galleons and guns, looking for the new world and the palace in the sun. Again, it's lines like this sort of vivid imagery that he's building up. I really love what he's done there. And in contrast, right, he uses guns and galleons to describe what would be the conquerors. And on the shore lay Montezuma, and when he describes it with a lot of nature and beauty for the people of the Aztec people, right? That's who Montezuma is, the leader of the Aztecs when Cortez eventually came to the shores. So he describes them with nature, cocoa leaves and pearls, and halls he often wandered with the secrets of the world. That is a beautiful line. And kind of true, man. Understanding the Aztec sort of architecture that has been left behind. There's these brilliant videos on YouTube that you can see about the engineering and architecture that goes behind some of these fantastic wonders of the world that they created. So that's, I guess, alluding to this fact here with the secrets of the world. Really cool, man. Sort of the meeting of two worlds is going on right now. And again, and the clothes of many colors for the angry gods to see. Some really beautiful lines here. This is, again, sort of going into the minds and culture of the people, the Aztec people. This is kind of what they believed, right? About the sacrifices to keep the gods happy. Really cool to see Neil adding all of this stuff. So let's keep this going. Back this up.
Gods to see, and the women all were beautiful, and the men stood straight and strong. He offered life and sacrifice so that others could go on.
Ah. Wow. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. What a brilliant conceptual record, man. I love what he's done here. The way he's built this track up to be this sort of serene, beautiful sort of story in the beginning through the instrumentation, and then how it's sort of unfolding about what would eventually be the conquest of these people, right? That's what is is this kind of beauty is being destroyed eventually with those galleons and the guns. Now, again, I don't, it's not the most historically accurate thing in the world when he says that the people did not know of war at one point, he said. But, you know, it's art. It's not supposed to, you know, make sense logically. It's not really about that, right? They were actually quite a warring people. A lot of death and sort of mutilation. The sacrifices stuff that went on was pretty violent, if you ask me. But it's not important. What's important is the sort of story he's telling. He's using this as a sort of metaphor for colonization, I guess, and the destruction that it brings along. And again, some of these lines are absolutely brilliant, because you have this bit here which really struck me, again, as a history sort of buff, or well, an amateur one. And they build up with their bare hands what we still can't do today. That's a brilliant line, man. Again, Neil Young's writing sprinkled in is some gems, man. So this is actually true. If you know anything about Aztec architecture, there's some truly impressive sort of buildings and feats that they've created. There's that ancient structure that was created. I saw a YouTube video about it recently where you can clap, and when you clap around the building, it makes the noise of a bird, and it's supposed to be a sort of a monument to Quetzalcoatl, which was like their god, this serpent beast that was like the sort of creation of mankind and the world. Brilliant stuff, man. And the fact that he's added all of this in his music and his paragraphs is really impressive to me, man. His voice, if you speak about his voice a little bit, it's in a high register, which I normally don't like, but there's something about the way he's singing these things, you know. It's, I guess because it's his lyrics, there's such a connection to it. You feel everything he's saying, man. This has been such an impressive track, so let's see how this thing finishes off.
He came dancing across the water.
Oh,
Cortez, Cortez, what a killer.
wow. That has to be one of the most impressive songs I've heard on this channel so far. That absolutely blew me away. I love how he sort of ended it on a kind of an ambiguous note. The way he describes what is the destruction of a people as well is writing from the first-hand perspective of someone, one of the Aztec people, which I thought was really cool perspective to write from. He describes this last scene of like he came dancing across the water. What a way to describe what is happening. He came dancing across the water. Cortez, Cortez, what a killer. And he ends it there. He leaves it sort of, the music does the rest of the talking, which he used several times in the song. In the beginning, I spoke about how he set the scene. He kind of ends the scene with the music once again. He leaves it up to you. What happens in the end? He kind of has this sort of disturbance or like an interference. He used it as part of the song. Pretty damn cool, man. What a brilliant track. Some awesome stuff sprinkled in throughout this thing. I mean, he starts it again with he came dancing across the water. So he wraps it up in the end with that. Some history stuff sprinkled throughout. Brilliantly poetic lyrics. You have, of course, those lines that I highlighted earlier. The one part of the track that I quite couldn't figure out is this sort of love story that he sprinkled in as well. I know she's living there and she loves me to this day. I still can't remember when or how I lost my way. I wonder what he's talking about here. He's writing in the perspective of a Mayan. So he kind of sprinkles into this story, sort of the thoughts of this man. And she loves me to this day. Still can't remember when or how I lost my way. Interesting that he put that in there in the midst of this sort of tale of sort of conquest. Brilliant track, man. I mean, talk about a high sort of concept record. Wow, it absolutely delivered on what I was expecting. 2 thumbs up, man. That's a 10 out of 10.